how much provision has to be kept for different types of assets, and what are all the criteria for providing or making provision. In the case of loss asset, all of us know that the bank is anticipating a total loss of that particular amount. The chances of recovery is nil, is almost nil in respect of loss asset. So 100% has to be provided for in loss asset. If the loss asset is amounting to rupees 55,000, 55,000 amount should be provided or should be kept as provision, that is 100%. In the case of doubtful assets, if there is a doubtful asset of 10 lakhs, the doubtful asset is of value 10 lakhs. Realizable value of the security available is 6 lakhs. 6 lakhs. That means security is available. So we can say that this is a secured portion. So unsecured portion is 4 lakhs. 10 lakhs minus 6 lakhs. Then for this unsecured portion of the doubtful asset, 100% provision has to be made. Plus a certain percentage of provision for the secured portion also. And the percentage of provision for secured portion will depend upon the whether it is DA1, DA2 or DA3. If it is up to 1 year, that is DA1, the percentage is 25. That is at 6 lakhs 25. That means 1.5 lakhs. 1.5 lakhs plus 4. That is 5.5 will be the total provision. 1 to 3 years, that is DA2, it is 40%. 2.40% is the provision for secured portion in the example which I have written. So 4 plus 6, 2.4, it will be 6.4% provision for this particular asset. And if it is DA3, you have to provide 100. That means 6 plus 4, you have to provide 100%. This is almost like a loss asset. In the case of substandard assets, general provision is 15%. 15%. And in the case of unsecured exposures, in case of secured cases, it is 15%. Unsecured exposures, then additional 10% has to be provided, that is 25%. For the unsecured portion of the substandard asset, 25% has to be provided. And if for the secured portion, it is 15%. Standard assets are also attracting provision. As I said, standard assets, we cannot say that these are pakka. There can be defaults in the standard assets also. Subsequently, it can become NPA also. Because up to 90 days irregularity, we are classifying as standard assets. Standard assets, we cannot say that they are pakka, they are not pakka. So we have to provide for that also. Very small provision has to be maintained for standard assets also. For agricultural activities and small and micro enterprises, the percentage of provision for standard asset is 0.25% for the total outstanding. It does not consider the security and other things. Advances to commercial real estate, the percentage is 1. Advances to commercial real estate, when it is given for residential projects, it is 0.75%. Because residential projects, housing loans generally it is 0.25% only. But whenever you are giving a project loan for a residential project, that is for construction of a flat, it will be 0.75%. If it is for some commercial purposes that flat is being constructed, it will be 1%. And other advances, yeah, housing loans, other than this commercial real estate housing, residential is 0.75. Other housing loans, it will be attracting 0.4%, not 0.25. They're on this. 0.25 is applicable for agriculture and small and medium enterprises. Okay. So generally for housing loans, etc., it is 0.40%. But in certain cases, there is some difference. We'll go to that. Teaser housing loans. See, in order to attract more and more customers, the banks, some of the banks are offering lower rate of interest in the initial years, or not 2 years, and subsequently the rate of interest will be hiked or increased. Such loans are known as teaser rate loans. And in such cases, the risk perceived is more because initially the EMI will be less. And whenever the EMI is being increased, there will be chances of default also. So that is why we say that more risk is there. Since more risk is there, more provision has to be made in respect of teaser rate loans for the period for which the concessional rate is given. If it is for 1 year, first 1 year, for 1 year. And if it is for 2 years, then for 2 years, you have to provide additional. That is, if 0.40 will not suffice. Instead of that, you have to provide 2% for teaser rate loans during the period for which the teaser rate is offered. You have to provide 2% of the outstanding amount. And another important aspect is, see, banks will be declaring in their annual report or in the press conferences, they will say that my NPA is this much only. For that NPA, they are using two terminologies. One is the gross NPA and net NPA. Banks will say that we are having an NPA of 8%, but our net percentage is only 3%. Sometimes they will give an explanation like that. What is the difference between gross NPA and net NPA? It is a point for an example, exam question. See, gross NPA means the total of outstanding in all NPA accounts. If 100 accounts are there, you total the outstanding, that is the total NPA or the gross NPA. And from the gross NPA, you can reduce the provision for NPA. For the total NPA accounts, if you have provided some 5 crores as provision for NPA, So from the gross NPA, you can deduct that 5 crores and you can arrive at the net NPA. So net NPA is equal to gross NPA minus provision for NPA. Now, so be very clear, gross NPA means total of all NPA accounts. Then net NPA means gross NPA minus provision for NPA. Remember this. Now, ABC Bank. ABC Bank is having a gross NPA percentage of our gross NPA, say 8 crores. 8 crores. And the provision is substandard asset. Provision is 1 crore. Doubtful asset 3 crores. Loss asset 1 crore. Then provision for standard assets 1 crore. So total provision is 4 plus 2, 6. So you have the total NPAs, gross NPAs 8 crores, provision for substandard asset 1 crore, provision for doubtful asset 3 crores, provision for loss asset 1 crore, provision for standard asset 1 crore. So total NPA, so total provision, total amount provided by the bank is 6 crores. ABC Bank is 6 crores. Now you calculate the net NPA and tell me the figure. What is the NPA, net NPA figure of ABC Bank? The answer came very fast. But it is not correct. Go through the formula. Once again, gross NPA minus provision for NPA. See, this is provision for NPA. This is provision for NPA. This is also provision for NPA. But whereas this 1 crore is the provision for a standard asset. That you cannot deduct from the gross NPA. The net NPA is gross NPA minus provision for non-performing assets. Only the provision for non-performing assets should be considered. So the answer is 3 crores. Possible question. Okay. Then we are moving on to the recovery policy of banks. The banks, as per directions of the Reserve Bank of India, should have a large number of policies. KYC policy should be there. Compensation policy should be there. Loan policy should be there. So many policies. When you are going and seeing the website of a bank, you will be able to find out all these policies. And the declared policy should be there. It has to be got approved mostly by the board of directors of the bank. It has to be in line with the Reserve Bank of India instructions. And it has to be followed. It has to be followed by the banks meticulously. That is the instruction of the RBI. Similarly, for recovery also, there is a policy. And the policy of the recovery policy of the bank should be built on courtesy, fair treatment, and persuading the customer to repay. You should not threaten the customer. You should not use any coercive method, just like the detaining the customer, etc., or beating the customer. That is not possible. That should not be done. The debt collection policy of the bank should be built around dignity and respect to customer. Even if you are a bank's officer responsible for recovery, and if you are a debt recovery agent, you have to remember that the basic things that are required in dealing with the customer is courtesy and fair treatment, and the customers has to be treated with dignity and they have to be respected. And the repayment schedule of any loan, either by the bank or by the DRA for repayment program, if they are insisting or they're making a schedule, please see that it is as per the cash flow pattern of the customer. Cash inflow pattern of the customer is very important whenever you are fixing the repayment schedule. See, in my case, I am a pensioner. I am getting my pension on 25th or 27th of every month. So my pattern, cash inflow pattern is like that. If I am getting the pension on 27, if I am asked to repay a loan on 26, it will be difficult for me. So make it 28 or 29 so that it will be comfortable for me, because at that time I will have cash. So cash inflow pattern for a salaried person or a pensioner, the date of salary or date of pension. And in the case of an agriculturist, it is the harvesting season that he will have money and he can pay. And for a business person, it is the time when he is having maximum sales. At that time, he will have more money with him. So he will be able to repay. So whenever you are fixing the repayment period, whether it is for a fresh loan or for repaying the loan due to the irregularity, in that case, please see the cash inflow pattern of the customer. That is also the, as per the bank policy, it has to be done like that. Then, general guidelines regarding recovery is that the customer for recovery purposes should be contacted at his place, business place, or at his residence, or at the when a choice is given by the customer, you have to go and meet him there. So the customer should be given an opportunity to prefer or to choose a place where the recovery agent or the bank's officer can meet this particular person. And if after offering a place, he is absconding or he is not available in that place, he can go to his residence or to his business place. And there is a time limit also for contacting a customer, calling a customer over telephone or contacting a customer in person. The time has been prescribed as between 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. This is an instruction from the Reserve Bank of India. As said, you are not permitted to call the customer or meet the customer for recovery purposes before 8 a.m. in the morning and after 7 p.m. in the night. That is a guideline given by the Reserve Bank. But if the customer says that, sir, I will not be available at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you can call me at 7:30. If a consent is there, yes, you can do it. Otherwise, you have to stick on to this timing, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. That is as per the guidelines of the Reserve Bank of India. Now, whenever you are talking about recovery of accounts, so many methods are there. So many routes are there for recovery. One is calling the customer, contacting over telephone, talking to him in person, persuading him to repay. You should not threaten. You should not say that I will arrest you. You don't have the power to arrest. Only after, if you want to tell him that we are going to arrest you, after completing all the formalities for that purpose, either through the court or through the criminal procedures. Without that, you are not expected to utter the word, I will detain you, I will put you in jail. That is not permitted at all. And whenever you are going, similarly, also, whenever you go and meet the customer, first you tell that I am so and so. You reveal your identity and you tell that your authority, how it has been derived. How you got the authority to recover? The bank has given the loan and the bank has given you the authority to this DRA or to this bank officer to recover the money. So identity and authority of the person meeting the customer also is very important. That has to be revealed in the first instance itself. And recovery, I was telling, so many methods are there. These follow-up measures are there. If it does not materialize, sometimes we will go for some legal recoveries. Legal recovery, it can be by means of the Local Recovery Act in Kerala, and in various states we have the Local Recovery Act called the Revenue Recovery Act. Initially, it was meant for recovering the government dues, tax dues, but it has been made applicable to the priority sector loans also. And you have to make an application to the collector, and collector will give an order to the recovery tester. Recovery tester will authorize the village officer. Village officer will go to the customer's house, get the assets, and sell it and remit the money to the bank after deduct some collection charges. That is what is known as the action under Local Recovery Act. Number two, you can file a case with the appropriate court. Depending upon the amount of the loan, court cases can be filed through the advocate. So, but it will take years for your recovery. And the third one that is being commonly used nowadays is the enactment, is the recovery through SBI Act. SBI means Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act. This was introduced in the year 2002. Earlier, when a property was mortgaged to the bank, or when an asset was hypothecated to the bank was not having the right to take possession of the landed property or take possession of the hypothecated asset. Instead, the bank should have gone to the court, and through the court only, bank was able to take possession of this property, mortgage property and hypothecated property. But after enactment of this act in 2002, the whatever power the court had, whatever power the court had in respect of getting the secured asset or taking possession of the secured asset and selling the secured asset, that power was granted to the senior officials of the bank, chief manager and above. They are the authorized officer for implementation of the SBI. So these officers will get the judicial powers which were earlier exercised only by the court. So as per the act, the authorized officers of the bank, chief manager and above, can take action under SBI Act, can take possession of the property, can sell the property also. So why this was introduced? It was to increase the recovery or to enable the banks to recover more effectively. This particular act was enacted in the year 2002. And in all cases, it is not applicable. It is applicable in the case of equitable mortgage and also in the case of hypothecation. And the minimum amount due to the bank should be 1 lakh. Should be more than 1 lakh. If it is up to 1 lakh, up to and including 1 lakh, the outstanding amount, that is the dues receivable from the customer, is up to 1 lakh, you are up to and including 1 lakh, you cannot enforce SBI. If it is more than 1 lakh, you can go for SBI, provided you have a landed property or you have a hypothecated asset. And the landed property should not be an agricultural land. It should be a garden land or residential land. Commercial land also is possible. But agricultural land cannot be proceeded against. Against agricultural land, you cannot proceed under SBI. And secured asset should be an agricultural asset. Then minimum amount should be more than 1 lakh. And if The customer has availed a loan of 10 lakhs, and so far the interest debited to the account is 4 lakhs. 10 plus 4, 14 lakhs. 10 lakhs he has availed as loan. 4 lakhs is the up-to-date interest. And till now, he has paid 80% of the amount. He has paid only 80%. Now the remaining is 20%. Or if he has paid only 70%, remaining will be 30%. In that case, you can go for securitization or SARFAESI action to recover the balance. But if he has already paid 80% or more than 80%, the outstanding will be less than 20% of the total amount. In that case, you cannot go for any SARFAESI.